What's going on, everybody? Ricky Robinson with 2TimesR Media back again with another video. In this video, I just want to talk about why I may be switching from the Fujifilm X-H2s and what camera I got to replace it. So, first off, let's talk about the camera. See, there you are. Say hi.
Hello.
So let's talk about why I might be switching from the Fujifilm X-H2s and what camera will be replacing it and why I got that camera. So the first reason and the main reason that I'm switching from, sorry, there's a lot of flies and bugs. The main reason that I'm switching is because of the autofocus on the X-H2s and the whole firmware issues that they've been having, all the bugs and quirks that people have been finding. And I found myself because I recorded a video and I had to record it a couple times because the autofocus was just not cooperating. What camera did I get to replace the Fujifilm X-H2s? And that is the Lumix S52X. And why did I get this camera? First off, let's talk about the price. The price was less than $2,500 for the camera and 2 lenses. So for me, that right there already is a major win, because now I have 2 lenses that I can start off with. I don't have to worry about building out my lenses again because I already have those lenses to start and shoot. Right now I'm shooting on the kit lens, the 20-60, which is a great, for me, I think is a great focal length, especially for full frame, because you have that wide and then you get about a 60 on the telephoto end. It's not that much zoomed out or zoomed in, but it's good enough, I think, for to start off with. And on top of the kit lens, the 20-60, I got the 50mm f1.8. So this lens right here. So 2 lenses and the camera body, all for under $2,400. Of course, that's before taxes and everything else. But it's still, the X-H2s and the A7 IV and most of the cameras in this price range are about $2,500 for the camera body alone. The next reason is because of the issue with the X-H2s, looking for a camera that has better autofocus. So autofocus in this camera has been talked about quite a bit. It has upgraded, they have upgraded the autofocusing system in the Lumix S52 and the S52X and the newer Lumix cameras. So that's why I got this camera, because of how good the autofocus I've seen from videos has been and from using it myself has been. So we got 2 faces in here. I'll cover my face. It went to him, come back to me, maybe not, and now it's back on me. But the autofocus has been really good. I mean, this is really what I want to use it for. So that's why my frustrations with the X-H2s is so high, because all I'm doing is this. I'm just moving my head around in frame. I'm not going out of frame, coming back in frame. I'm not doing anything like that. But if I did want to, I know I can't rely on that autofocus that much. So that's why I'm switching cameras. The next reason is the SSD. The SSD recording, you can just use your USB-C to an SSD, and if you record just 10-bit without the ProRes, you're definitely gonna see how awesome it is, because you're gonna get a lot of time. Like for a couple $100 or even $100, you can get a 1 terabyte SSD that's pretty fast. That will have, you will have no issues with recording directly to it. Next is the IBIS, the great IBIS system. I did a couple tests here in my yard, chasing my kids. Here I am on the S52X, and I'm just walking back and forth in my yard to see how great the stabilization is for vlogging. I do have the kit lens on it, but the kit lens does not have stabilization built into it. I don't understand why they didn't do it, but whatever, you know, that's fine. I have the stabilization into it. So how is the corners? Is it wobbly? I am using stabilization and it is on high, so hopefully my walking doesn't look too crazy and the wobbling is not too crazy. And I like the IBIS, how it works in this camera compared to the X-H2s and the A7 IV. Now the A7 IV is pretty decent. It does have active in it, and that helps out a lot. And it also has gyro data that if I wanted to use catalyst browse, I could definitely make that work really well. But to know that I don't have to use a gimbal all the time, to know that I don't have to like be as stable as I need to be just to get the shot, I think that's great. So IBIS is awesome. I don't have any third-party lenses at this time, but I have been looking at some of the Sigma lenses. They have a couple iterations. There's also the Rokinon 35 to 1 something. I can't remember the actual millimeter. I'll put it here on the screen. But there's also that lens that is really, really interesting to me because of how broad the focal length is, and your highest aperture on that lens is f2.8, and it's probably good for low light. This lens right here is not a great low light lens. The lowest it goes at the widest aperture, or at the widest focal length, is about f3.5. And the highest it goes to f5.6. What I liked about the X-H2s was the open gate. Open gate is awesome when you consider social media content. So being able to put out in social media and put out in long form content or anything like that, if you're doing a commercial shoot, most people nowadays want social media type content. It definitely gives you more flexibility to put your content and your video productions in more places than one. So that's a nice thing to have. It's a lot more flexible. And as you guys can see, I am very sticky and very sweaty. So a built-in fan is an excellent thing to have in the camera at this price point, especially at this price point. I mean, I don't think there's any other camera at this price point or below it. I mean, you can get, I think, the S5 II, which is under $2,000 with a lens. So for that price, I think you can get the FX30. You can get those cameras, and the fan is definitely a major upgrade for me. Or worrying about overheating is gone. And lastly, the things that I like about this camera and why I like this camera is the dual native ISO. So if I wanted to go all the way up to ISO 4000, it won't be a problem at all. And I will show you what that looks like right now. So now this is on ISO 4000. And I did raise the aperture. I did close down the aperture quite a bit to f7.1 to kind of level off the exposure here. I also like the real-time LUTs, so you can bake in your film simulations, or LUTs as the rest of the camera community calls them, your LUTs. You can bake in those LUTs directly into your footage. So once I find the LUT that I like, something that compares to nostalgic negative, I would definitely more than likely be shooting with that film simulation or LUT. I got used to saying LUT. Get used to shooting with that LUT over the regular standard what I'm shooting in right now, which right now I'm shooting in Vivid because somebody said it was really nice, and I do like the way it makes our skin look because we have darker skin, brown skin, and I do like the way it looks. So what don't I like about this camera? Because it's not perfect. I'm not going to say it's 100% perfect. Now, the autofocus, I can say, is great. It's really great, but it's not perfect. It's not on the level of my A7 IV. And of course, that even is not perfect, but that is really near perfect. The autofocus is not that great, but it's really good, and it's a lot better than the X-H2s is right now. So I can't harp on that too much. It is really good. I've had it where it lost me, and I didn't understand why, because I was only facing the frame, and it lost me. Now I've tried all the different autofocus settings. So it's not an autofocus setting. I tried a bunch of them. All in all, the autofocus is good, but it could be a little bit better, and it's gotten better. There's only really two things that I don't really care about on this camera, or don't like, or think needs to be improved a little bit. And that is the delay in the monitoring. So if you're watching yourself on the camera, or if you're watching yourself on the monitor, or any monitor connected to this camera, there is quite a bit of delay, especially in HDMI. HDMI, you get even more of a delay, but even on the screen, I mean, that's pretty good. It's not that bad. On a HDMI monitor, it is quite a bit distracting if you're looking at yourself, or if you're recording somebody and you're watching them and you're watching the delay of their actions versus what you see on screen. It's a little bit distracting, and it's a little bit annoying. It's not too bad, and it's not a deal breaker for me, but I want to mention it because it's something that I don't like. But of course, if you guys have watched videos on this camera, you probably have heard that already. I'm just telling you what I don't like, or that I think could be improved. The menu system can be very confusing. There's just so many settings. I guess that's what it is. It's just a lot of settings in this camera. There's a lot of tweaking that you can do. Honorable mention, and the fact that you can hold down a button and you can program that button to do what you want it to do on this camera. I think it's really good. I think all cameras should have that functionality, especially like the Fuji cameras, the Sony cameras. They should all have that functionality. I press and hold the button and I'm able to adjust the setting of that button. Also, I like the histograms. I like the luminance spot meter, so you can see if a certain spot in your frame is in perfect exposure. So there's so many different things that you can use in this camera. I like shutter angle. I think that's pretty cool. That I don't have to worry about something. I put it on 180 degrees. I set my resolution and my frame rate, and it automatically sets the shutter for me. That's really good. One less thing to have to worry about, one less thing to have to think about if you're switching between 4K 30, 4K 60, 4K 48, 6K, 5.9K, and all the different frame rates. You don't really have to worry about changing your shutter, which is really, really good. So those are the reasons that I switched. And those are the reasons that I picked this camera, especially for the lens combination, the lenses that they offer. I'm glad that the L-mount alliance exists and they can use Leica L-mount lenses. They are compatible with Sigma, they're compatible with Rokinon, and more manufacturers I'm sure are going to be part of that L-mount alliance. So I'm hoping that the cinema lenses from Rokinon or Samyang that they make for the Sony E-mount come to this camera. I'm hoping that the Tamron lenses that they make for the Sony E-mount and full frame comes to this camera. But I like the lens combinations or the lens that they have right now. I think there's a lens for anybody out there. If you need something for portraits, if you need something for videos like this, if you need wide angle zoom, if you need a telephoto zoom, there is a lens for you, and it's not only first party, so you can get a little bit less expensive options for these camera bodies. So that's why I switched to this. So if you got something out of this video, don't forget to, what do you got to say?
Like and subscribe. Please.
And comment down below and let me know what you guys think about this. And if you're using the X-H2s, what do you think about the X-H2s and all the issues that's going on with that camera right now? Anyway, my name is Ricky Robinson with 2 Times R Media. Have a good one. Peace.